Alright, in this video I'm going to show you exactly how to create a GitHub website that you can host any of your web data connectors on. We're going to get started with the Mad Money Scraper that Tableau provides for free with the software development kit that you downloaded in the last video. If you don't have that set up already, I highly recommend you follow step 1 to get that all squared away, and then move on to step 2 or part 2, where you actually take a look at what's inside that web data connector, put it on a website that can be hosted, and start to work with it. Just to give you a quick idea of what you'll end up with whenever you're finished with this part of the tutorial, you can see here that I have a Tableau workbook ready to go with a few fields in here: ticker, company, date, segment, call, and price, some web data, and some field names. If we actually look at that data, we can see here that we have a number of stocks split up by segments with some data information and some price information there as well. So let's dig in. Number one, we're actually going to start outside of Tableau in a website called GitHub. GitHub is a very quick and easy way to set up a repository where you can host your source code. So it's really useful if you want to host really anything. And what we're going to be doing is hosting our web data connectors on GitHub. So first up, we're going to do is create a brand new repository. We're going to name this our username. .github.io. Add a description if you want, and make sure that it's set to public. Everything else you can ignore and just go ahead and hit create repository. Once that's created, you're going to go ahead and set this up on your local machine. Now I'm using Windows, so it's very easy for me just to go ahead and click on the setup in desktop, prompt me to launch the application, and go ahead and do that. Okay, once I'm in my GitHub application inside Windows, I come over to the plus button on the left hand side, and I click the clone button to look at the repositories that I have hosted online that I just created. You can see the new prediction.github.io. This will say your username. I'm selecting mine, and we're going to go ahead and clone that repository. The application will prompt you to create a new folder on your machine, which you go ahead and hit OK, and it's in the process of cloning. Now there's no files there yet, which is great. Go ahead and open up this repository in Explorer, and now this is just like a folder on your computer that you can add files to. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over to the desktop where we downloaded the Tableau Web Data Connector SDK files from the last part, go into examples, and find the madmoneyscraper.html. We're just going to copy that, come back up to GitHub, your GitHub folder on your local machine, go back to that new prediction.github.io, and we're going to paste it. So one other thing that we need to do is create an index file. This is all has to do with the hosting and whatnot, but trust me, it's just kind of required. So we're going to go ahead and create a new HTML folder. Let's go ahead and open this up with a text editor. Okay, now that we have our basic HTML in there, we're also going to add in a link to our brand new web data connector that came with the SDK. Now, just mind you, we haven't written any web data connectors from scratch yet. We're just working with the files that we got from Tableau. So we're going to create a link in here. This is some basic HTML. Again, we're just going to be linking the Mad Money Scraper that we just copied into the directory just a few minutes ago. We haven't actually written anything yet. Excellent. Go ahead and save that file locally, and then open this all back up in GitHub, and we're going to look at the changes here. You can see that we have two files that are ready for changes, so we're going to put a little description in here and commit each of those to our repository hosted on GitHub. So just to recap, we have the index.html, which is required from GitHub, and we have our Mad Money Scraper, which is the actual Web Data Connector that came with Tableau in the software development kit. Both of those are now hosted. We control them, and we're good to go. Just to show it one more way, if we actually come out to the newprediction.github.io, which is the repository we created, there's some magic that happens behind the scenes, but you can see here that we have the Mad Money Scraper file ready to go. So once you've committed both your files and you've published all your changes, hit sync to make sure that everything's ready to go. And let's head over to newprediction.github.io to see what's available. You can see the HTML page that we created, which is very basic, and you can also see the link that we created for the Mad Money Scraper Web Data Connector. Right now this really doesn't look like very much, but if we head over to the actual HTML file, you can see what's going on here. So we're going to dig in here a little bit, and we are going to see what's going on. So the first thing you can see is that it's connecting to a particular table on this website. So if we come over to this URL, I'm just going to open this up in any regular web browser. You can see a few columns here: the company, the date, the segment, the call, the price. Okay, those should look familiar. That's exactly what we had in Tableau. The call, company, date, segment, ticker, so on and so forth. Now, there's a few extra things that are happening here. This is just extra stuff. You don't necessarily need to have all this, but for this example, they just included it, where they have some code in here that grabs particular rows and particular columns to assign different values to the ticker, the company, the date, the segment, the call, and the price. They have a call icon to say what the recommendation is from this particular website is, and they also have kind of a segment key code in here where F indicates a featured stock, D is a discussed stock, so on and so forth. This is all just kind of example information that you can use to build your own web data connectors and eventually display it in Tableau. So you can see what's being done here. You're basically downloading this information and popping it into Tableau.